Hey everyone, I'm Kela, the head educator at Sunergos Coffee, and today we're going to be learning how to make an AeroPress. So what you need, first is a burr grinder. We are using the Fellow Ode. Now if you don't own a burr grinder, that's totally fine. You can always get your coffee ground at our shops. You want to make sure that you do get it ground on a burr grinder because a blade leads to a lot of inconsistencies in your grind size. Next, you'll need a kettle. We are using a gooseneck variable temp kettle by Fellow. The gooseneck really helps give it that controlled slow speed, but it's not necessary for an AeroPress. We just recommend it. You'll also need a timer, which is really nice because there's one built into this. You'll need a scale and then something to collect your coffee in. Typically, I recommend just using your mug. We are using the Hario range server so you can see it better, but it doesn't quite fit well onto it. So again, I would use a mug or maybe a mason jar. Then obviously you're gonna need your AeroPress. It's gonna come with the plunger, a stir stick. This is the kind of screen attachment at the bottom, and then some filters. And of course, your coffee. So there are two main methods of brewing an AeroPress. There's the traditional method, which you set it right on top of your device and brew straight into it. And then there's inverted, where you actually start upside down and then at the end you flip it and finish that brew. But today we're gonna do traditional. Now with the AeroPress, it's really great because it lends itself to a variety of different types of recipes and grind sizes and things like that. So there's no objectively right way to make it. But I always say just brew what you like. We are gonna be using a bit of a stronger ratio today. So it's a 12:1 water to coffee ratio. I think for an AeroPress, it's just really nice for the body. We're gonna be starting with 18 grams of coffee and then 220 grams of water at 200 degrees Fahrenheit. So first thing you're gonna do, you're gonna get your paper filter, you're gonna set it right in that screen, and then you're gonna lock it on the bottom. You just put it in the tap, twist it to the right, and it should be set. And you're gonna place it on top of whatever you're brewing into. Next, you're gonna get your water and you're gonna pour about an ounce or two in there. You wanna try to get the sides. And what this is gonna do is preheat your device and then also rinse away any of that paper taste left by that filter. So as that's heating up, I'm gonna dose out my coffee. I just like to use the top of my CJ scale cover. And I typically dose a little bit more than I need. That's just to make sure that I don't lose any in the grinding process. So on our Ode, we are set at a grind setting of 2. That's a bit of a finer setting. It's about medium fine. It's definitely finer than what you would use for a pour over. And I'm just gonna press this button right here. So as that grinds, I always make sure to empty the water that I rinsed with. It's always really sad if you forget, because then you have extra water in there and it's like papery tasting. And then the Ode's really nice because it finishes on its own. And then there's a little tab here. You can just knock it a few times. That's gonna release any leftover grounds. And I always tear out everything just so I can double check the weight of my coffee again. So I'm gonna take off this top here, and inside there's this guide that will help my dose get right into the cup. So we're looking for 18 grams. Sweet. If you accidentally put too much in there, totally fine. You can always grab a spoon and just scoop it out. So again, I'm gonna tare it. We wanna start at 0. You're gonna take that AeroPress and just give it a little shimmy to get it all flat. And now that my water is at the right temperature, I'm gonna get started. I'm gonna make sure to start my timer. So I'm gonna lift this off, and if I just hold this for a couple seconds, I get a 3-second countdown, and I start. So I'm gonna fill up 220 grams of water. And I don't wanna start too high. You don't wanna overly disturb that grounds bed. Just making sure that you coat all of your coffee. And as soon as that's done, I'm gonna take my stir stick and stir back and forth 5 times. And then I'm gonna quickly grab the plunger, put it in at an angle, and then slightly lift up And what that's gonna do is it's gonna create a vacuum so that the water won't drain through that coffee. So now we have about a minute, 15 seconds before we have to plunge it down and get the rest of that coffee out of there. So I'm just gonna move my scale. So a few things to think about when you are making an AeroPress. There's about 4 different variables that can increase or decrease your extraction on your coffee. So extraction, we're just thinking about getting a good amount of those flavors out, that's balancing out the acids and the sugars. So there is the grind size, there is the temperature of your water, agitation, which is using this to stir it up, and then the time of your brewing. So any of those things, if you increase them, you're going to extract more out of it. So a finer grind setting, a higher temperature, more stirring, and a longer time, that's all gonna pull more flavors out of your coffee. Now, pulling more out doesn't always equal better. If you extract it too much, you're gonna end up with something a little bit more bitter, kind of muted, and a little bit dry and astringent. So you wanna find a really good balance. So we have about 10 seconds here. When I press down, I'm not gonna be applying all of my pressure. The goal isn't to do it super quickly. We actually wanna do it in about 30 seconds. So here at that 2-minute mark, I'm gonna press down. Nice, slow, and controlled. This tends to yield a cleaner cup because you're not forcing it through that paper filter. And you'll know you're done when you hear the hissing sound. Sweet. Awesome, so a little pro tip, before you remove this, I like to just lift it up just a little bit. That's gonna create a little vacuum again so that that water is not gonna drip when I lift it off. And then whenever you brew any coffee, it's always great to give it a really good mix before you serve it. Now this is gonna make about 7 to 7.5 ounces of coffee. That's pretty much good for 1 serving. Like I mentioned before, some of the different recipes out there, they'll have you make like a concentrate and you add water to it after, or maybe even this might be a little strong for you. You can always dilute it with a little bit of water. And we'll give it a test here. Nice. So what I really like about the AeroPress, it tends to give you a little bit more body. So if you were to look at your coffee, you'd see a little bit of oil on the surface. Part of that is because it's an immersion brew, which just means you put all your water in there and it sits with that coffee, starts to extract things. But another part of that is because it's a thin paper filter, so those oils and fines are gonna find their way out a little bit more. So the body doesn't always mean that you're gonna get the most flavor clarity out of it, but you will get something really balanced and nice. It kind of cuts down on the acidity, and it's sweet and really smooth and easy to drink. So that's how you make the traditional method of an AeroPress. Follow along with us to see how you can make the inverted method. Have a good time brewing at home.